It was dark and stormy night. I was alone in my small old house, trying to finish my homework before the deadline. The wind howled outside and the rain continuously pounded against my windows. As I worked, I couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that someone was watching me. I tried to brush it off as just my imagination, but the feeling only grew stronger. Suddenly, a loud knock sounded on my front door. I jumped in surprised, dropping my pencil onto the floor. Who could be out in the night like this? With trembling hands, I slowly walked towards the door and cautiously opened it. To my surprise, there was no one there. The street was deserted and no one could be seen in the distance. I shrugged it off, thinking it must have been the wind. However, as I turned to go back to my work, I caught a glimpse of someone standing at the edge of my lawn. It was a woman in a long, white dress, her hair blowing wildly in the wind. But her face was a pale white with dark circles around her eyes. I couldn't see her features clearly, but the sight made me shiver. I closed the door quickly, trying to convince myself that it was just my tired mind playing tricks on me. But as I backed down to continue my work, I could feel her presence in the room. The temperature dropped suddenly, and the air felt thick with a mysterious energy. I felt my heart pounding in my chest as I turned around to see the woman standing right in front of me. I let out a scream and jumped out of my chair, my books and papers scattering on the floor. The woman just stood there, her eyes fixed on me. I could see now that her eyes were a piercing blue, and they had seemed to be filled with sorrow and longing. I was frozen in fear, unable to move or speak. I don't know how long we stood there, her and I, but eventually she started to fade away, disappearing into the thin air. I let out a shaky breath, trying to convince myself that what I just saw was just a hallucination. But deep down, I knew that it was something more. With trembling hands, I gathered my things and rushed upstairs to my room. I locked the door behind me, feeling safer in the confines of my room. I sat on my bed, my mind racing with questions. Who was that woman? Why was she in my house? And most importantly, how did she disappear like that? As the night went on, I tried to distract myself with my homework and reading. But every so often, I would hear a faint whisper or catch a glimpse of white dress out of the corner of my eye. I couldn't shake off the feeling that the woman was just still in my house, haunting me. The next morning, I woke up to find my room in disarray. My bookshelves had fallen over, my clothes were scattered on the floor. I tried to convince myself that it was just a nightmare, but the events of the night kept replaying in my mind. I couldn't deny it any longer. My house was haunted by a ghost. I decided to do some research and find out more about my ghostly visitor. I found out that her name was Emily, and she used to live in my house with her husband, who was a soldier. He went off to war, and Emily was left alone to take care of their home. However, he never returned, and Emily was devastated. She spent the rest of her days waiting for him to come back, but he never did. Eventually, she died of a broken heart. I also discovered that numerous families had lived in my house after Emily's death, but they all left after experiencing strange occurrences. Some would hear Emily's cries at night, while others saw her wandering around the house. I couldn't believe that I'd been living in a haunted house all this time, and I never knew it. I started to seek help from a paranormal investigator, hoping that they could help me communicate with Emily and found out why she was still lingering in my home. As we conducted an investigation, we were able to communicate with Emily through a Ouija board. She told us that she was waiting for her husband to return, and she believed that I was him. I was shocked and saddened by her story, and I promised her that I would find her husband's resting place and reunite them. With Emily's permission, we performed a cleansing ritual to lay her spirit to rest. After that, the strange occurrences in my house stopped, and I could finally sleep peacefully at night. Looking back, I couldn't help but wonder if Emily's husband ever returned to their home. I like to think that they were reunited in the afterlife, finally at peace. I also can't help but feel grateful to have had the opportunity to help Emily find closure and move on. But the memory of that stormy night and the encounter with a ghost will always stay with me. Now I know that sometimes the things we can't see can be the most terrifying.